All right, a couple of weeks ago, our good friends over at DBK did a very interesting video, kind of like a thought experiment. If they could only have 5 knives, what would it be? The DBK set. So collectively, if they had both of their collections narrowed down to just 5 knives, what would they choose? It's a hard task, don't get me wrong. But about halfway through their video, they decided no folders. And I was like, whoa, them's fighting words. So I felt like I had to do this as well. So here we go. My whole collection narrowed down to just 5 knives. If I could only have 5 for the rest of my life, what would I choose? Let's do the damn thing. Since we're talking about all this stuff today, I want to throw this out there. This is your reminder to use your shit and sharpen your knives. We've done some test videos recently, and I think that shows that you can use a knife, push it past what you think its limits are, and you can still get it back if you just sharpen it. So, use your shit, sharpen your knives. Go check out WorkSharp. And we also have a coupon code that's active right now. It's down below. I also want to thank Big Idea Design. They've been a supporter of this channel for a very long time. They make awesome pins. They also make knives, folding and fixed. And I love all of their stuff. I've been using it and carrying it for years. Go check them out. Use the coupon code CARRYON and you can get 10% off. Now, back to making myself cry. I watched their video and I watched it again, and I decided that I wanted to approach this a little bit methodically. If I could only have 5 knives, I would want one for each like specific task or different things that I actually need a knife for. And the first thing that came to mind, something they also agreed on, I need a knife in the kitchen. As much as I use my knives, like my EDC knives for food prep, I cook a lot and I need a good chef knife. We have some knives that fare very well in the kitchen. I actually know which one of these I'm going to choose, but I want to talk about a couple of things. It sucks. It sucks because I use these knives a lot. We have the fish crafters from Benchmade and the meat crafters. So real fillet, trailing point style kitchen knives that are really for processing meat. Getting in, separating some meat from the bone, cutting off fat, trimming. They've got a lot of flex to them, which makes them really good at that. But if I only have 5 knives, I can't dedicate one of those slots to just one of these, because then I would still also need another kitchen knife. This is where it gets tough, because I would love to have one of these in the collection, but if I can only have 5, I would say goodbye to all of these, which would suck. I mean, this right here is one of my most used knives in my kitchen. When I'm trimming a brisket, I know it's the fish crafter and not the meat crafter, but this one has a lot more flex to it, and that helps a lot when you're trimming a meat, like a big old slab of meat like that. Another knife I use a ton in my kitchen is the Station from Benchmade. I really like it. It's really good at chopping, but you can also do some really good fine work. It's got a nice little fine point up there, so you can pierce really well. Very good all-arounder. But then I had a thought, like, what if I got one that's like, kind of multi-purpose, like the Overland. This is a good camp kitchen knife. It's one that I could carry in my pocket or on a bag or in a bag. It checks a lot of boxes, and it's great at food prep, but it's thick. It's got a lot of meat here, which means that it's not nearly as good at some of your finer, slicier tasks when you're in the kitchen. So this one is still not out of the running because it does check a lot of other boxes. And then this one, this is the one I actually keep in the truck. This is a Primitive Woodsman Fireside, I think is what it's called. Just another really good all-arounder, and it's got a lot of similarities with the Overland, but there's only one kitchen knife. Like, if I got one kitchen knife, it's a pretty clear winner. I have it in a really sick sheath because it doesn't have one. But this right here, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember the name, because when this was given to me at Blade Show this year, it was a prototype. So I'd have to look up the name. Ricky, put it on the screen. Sorry. But this is a knife from UG Tools. We've talked about them before. This has a 3D printed titanium handle. It's actually hollow. And it's really lightweight, very well balanced right around the handle, and extremely thin. And Philip from UG Tools tells me that this knife is dishwasher safe. I'm still not putting it in the dishwasher, but this thing is super thin, extremely slicey. If you can only have one knife in the kitchen though, this is a great all-arounder. I'm not super familiar or knowledgeable on kitchen knives, but I know that of all the ones I have, which is a lot now, this is the one I grab the absolute most, hands down. It's comfortable, it's lightweight, it is awesome. So UG Tools takes it for the kitchen knife. That one is a solidified spot on the list. Number 1 goes to this one. So from there we go from kitchen knives to more of my camp knife. So something that is going to take a beating if I do have to split wood. Just a hard use beater knife. And I had a knee-jerk reaction, but there are a few that I think could really kind of take that spot. So here's another from UG Tools. I really like this knife a lot as well. This is the Tiny. Again, a 3D printed titanium handle. It is a MagnaCut blade, HRC 65. This thing is insane, and they are insanely tough. UG Tools has shared some videos of them clamping this in a vise and pulling on it. DBK also abused the crap out of some of these UG Tools products, not just knives, axes and chopper blades and stuff. They are insanely tough, even though they are not full tang. It's really cool. And a full metal handle that's comfortable is rare. So this one is, I would hate to not have this one. I love this knife. I'll be completely honest, I've had this knife for a very long time and barely ever used it, but it's so sweet. This is the Backpacker from Reeve. And the reason I think this one's in contention is because it would pull double duty, because it's not only a nice, very comfortable, bigger fixed blade, it's also hollow grind. So you're not going to be splitting a whole lot of wood with this because it's going to be too thin up here and you would damage it very, very quickly. So I think that's why it doesn't make this truck knife. Really, it doesn't fit as well for that, but it would be a really good overall, like, general purpose camping knife or something like that. But I have axes, I have other things to split wood with, so maybe. And I would maybe hesitate a little bit to really abuse this, because this is a hard knife to buy. People are always trying to buy a Backpacker from Reeve and they go instantly. It's a sick knife, and I haven't used it because when I bought this is around the same time that fixed blades just started flying around here. We went from having hundreds of folders to, I think there are now more fixed blades in this office than folders, probably, especially because we sold off a lot on whatnot. But the Backpacker is really cool. I just don't know if it'd make the list. This one is a gift. It's got some rust on it. This knife has had a rough life. It's got some gunk and stuff. It would need to be cleaned up, but this is the Father Hunter from BMKT. It is a custom, and it's sick. Like, just look at it. And full flat grind. It has, I believe, 01 tool steel handle, a burl or blade, a burl handle. It's very comfortable. It's a really sweet knife. But when it comes to something that I feel like I could just absolutely wail on and not worry about, we got the Lost Trail 5. This is from Schwarz knives, and it is a tank of a knife. I carried it in my pocket for 2.5 weeks, and I've used it a lot, but I would not recommend using this as an EDC knife. I mean, it's a 10-inch blade. Well, 5-inch blade, 10-inch knife. As a knife, I love it, and this stays in my truck right now, and I think, realistically, this is what would stay in the truck. Although, I can probably take that ulti-clip off. Or not ulti-clip, but DCC clip.
Just put it back in your pocket.
Put it back in the pocket. It's a big knife to carry every day, but if we're going with one, and we may revisit some of these at the end, but it's really a toss-up between these two. The Father Hunter is sweet, and I would hate to get rid of it because it is a gift. But when it comes to knives that I think could really handle taking a beating from my collection, it would be these two. The Lost Trail 5 and the Tiny from UG Tools. And if we're talking about one big, heavy beater truck knife, it's kind of hard to say that this one would take it, right? This is a good fixed blade, but this is like the choppa. This is the meat from your meat and potatoes. This is the knife. So for now, it'll probably stay that way. We have 2 of our 5 knives selected.
Good work.
This actually hurts. Like, it hurts to choose. And it's only going to get worse because we're going to, like, I think we're going to folders next.
After you pick your 5, you sell the rest.
I sell the rest. Things get a little interesting with folders. I'll just get a couple out here. I've gone through my entire knife collection, and I've narrowed it down to some, and I'll make the same disclaimer that DBK did. I have my own knife design now. Obviously, I designed this to be something exactly like what I want that I couldn't find. And as much as it would pain me, I'm not going to put it on the list. I've carried this one. I've actually carried both of these basically nonstop since I got the first prototype in. I love it. There's nothing I would change about it, but just for the sake of this video and to be fair to other people, my knife is out. Although it's really sick, and once they do hit shelves, you should buy 1 or 5 of them.
I wouldn't pick your knife anyways.
Nah, well. You're a bougie bitch, so. I say that, and like most of these knives on the table are very expensive.
Says the guy with the green Serica Umnumzaan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so if we're talking like everything I've said for the last several years, there is one answer for folder, right? It's the Umnumzaan. We just did a test on an Umnumzaan. It did exceptionally well, and I said that that would remain my one and done folding knife. And I don't want to backtrack on that. I don't want to change my mind, but I think in order to rightfully choose the Umnumzaan, we have to consider a few things. One, is there only one folder in this list? And two, even though I said the Umnumzaan would be my one and done, is it? And there are a few things to consider when answering that question. Do I really need a big folder? What I like about the Umnumzaan is that you have a very tough knife, as we proved with our recent destruction test, if you want to call it that. But it's also still very slicey, and it serves a lot of functions. I can do food prep with this, right? So if I need, say, a paring knife and I have that one big knife and I want something a little smaller, I can still use in the kitchen. This one still fills that void because it's a hollow grind. It's very slicey still. So it's strong and slicey, so it checks a lot of boxes. However, if I want something that I can dress up, right? If I need like a dress knife, this is not really a dressy knife. This is a big knife. It's a tactical folder is what it is. So then do I allocate 2 spots on my list to folders? Ricky suggested I do a slip joint.
Yeah.
Which is nice and classy.
Gentleman's folder.
I'm not necessarily a slip joint guy.
Or a gentleman.
I'm not a gentleman. Now, if we are going slip joint, the Ranger from Tactile is nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice. And it has a lot in common with the Klingman. Big difference here, obviously locking and slip joint, hollow grind and a flat grind, but it's got that forward curve to it. Also, other than the kitchen knife, everything is going to be drop point basically, right?
Yeah, I don't think you have any Tontos. Oh, no.
Well, like Warncliffe and stuff. Like we got a TPK, which brings us, I have not talked about this knife at all on the channel. I've carried this knife a lot. Probably more than Ricky knows. This knife has been in the pocket. There's still some tape schmooze on the blade. This knife is really sweet. This is from Yinzanzo. It is the Aros, and it's RWL 34 blade steel, sheep's foot blade. Kind of a warny. Doesn't really have a lot of belly, but it's somewhere in there. Button lock, micarta, and it's perfect and small. And that's something that like it can be classed up and carried kind of as a classy dress knife, sort of, or it's a user. It's a work knife. So this also kind of checks a couple of boxes, and this right here could be a good pairing of folders. But another folder I've carried the absolute crap out of, and recently I've been carrying this one, the McNeese PM Mac 2. And I said for the longest time when I first got one of these at Blade Show a couple of years ago that it just felt like a true work knife, something that you could just beat on. I think we're probably going to test that. But I got this one yesterday. Another PM Mac 2, and I just love it. There are so many. This thing is one of the sliciest knives ever. You got a full flat, and it is just super thin behind the edge. There's so much to consider that, like, it's really tough. Because I've said it for so long, and because I want something that I know I can rely on, and I have a very special version of it, I have to give one slot to the Umnumzaan. I really have to, right? It's me. I love it. The green is obviously a big selling point, but the hollow grind and it being like a harpoon, like the aesthetic, the feel, everything about it is perfect. I love the Umnumzaan. That's not changed since I put my hands on the very first one.
Well, you're also very hard on your gear.
I am very hard on
if you could
my
be
gear.
as hard on like the arrows. Although it's built really well. I don't know.
It's built well, and that's why I might have to give another slot to a folding knife as something that's a little more dainty, right? So we have like the EDC work knife, which also could be a fixed blade, but I don't know. I would have a hard time not having an Umnumzaan. But then we have like the Nirvana. I have to give up the Nirvana?
Yeah, but
like these two are very,
Yeah, but the Zaan is like tried and tested, you know? Like you've used the hell out of it.
I have. I would really struggle to use
a Nirvana
the way I use the Umnumzaan.
Yeah.
Which is why this thing just sits, right? This is why I don't carry the Nirvana very often. I do, but not very often because I carry it and then I'm like, I don't want to mess this thing up. You can't buy another one. You know, it's going to be 5 times what I paid for this one.
Yeah.
Before we go further, I probably should have made this disclaimer at the beginning of the video. This is not going to appeal to a lot of you people who want to see me pick a bunch of budget knives. This is if I could only have 5 knives from my collection, and I have a lot of expensive knives in my collection, but I'm approaching this concept from the point of if I can only have 5 to last me the rest of my life. That's kind of how I view this question, which is why, one, we're erring on the side of some fixed blades here, but also I want something that I know is going to stand up to the abuse I'm going to put it through. And a budget knife, while it might, I know that this Chris Reeve, these are made like heirloom quality knives. They can be passed down if you take care of them. If you are not batoning with it, it's probably going to be fine. And you could send this in and have it serviced. I know that I can use this thing for a very, very long time. And if I have an issue, it can be blade swapped as long as they still have that blade. And it's like, if it's still in production, no problem, swap the blade, move on. But you have to pay to swap that blade. But if it's not in production and they still have them, they'll still do that. But I just feel like long term, I think it would be smart to get something that has either a good warranty or a good serviceability. Okay, so EDC fixed blade. I have so many EDC fixed blades now. We started talking about fixed blades after Georgia Bushcraft. There is now a huge push, and I'm not taking credit for this, I'm just saying the industry has shifted a little bit more in favor of small fixed blades. Pocket sheath options are through the roof now. They used to be incredibly hard to come by, or at least only a couple of makers would have a good pocket sheath. And now we have dozens and dozens and dozens of fixed blades with either a really good clip for a Kydex sheath, a good leather pocket sheath with a clip on it. You know, there's so many options. You also have leather sheaths that you can put different clips on. Like it's pretty impressive how things have changed in just the last year, which has made this a much harder thing to answer. All right, so like this has exploded and it's really tough to narrow down. Like I like them all. I want to keep them all. I've collaborated with brands on several of these. It's really tough. So I was talking about it with Ricky before we even hit record. I think there's one thing that helps me narrow down what EDC fixed blade I would keep. Like, it makes a lot of sense to have something like a big fixed blade, right? It makes it versatile. It's going to carry over into multiple categories that we're looking at here. But what I've found is that I do pocket a fixed blade basically every day now. And not every day, but very, very frequently, I have a neck knife. I never considered myself a neck knife guy, but you can see this, right? I've got this little Wazoo Viking Spark. I started carrying this. I now kind of feel comfortable with that around my neck. And then I've got several fixed blades that I keep on a Wazoo Viking Spark. This is what I take backpacking. This is what I take when I'm camping. This is probably my most used knife when I'm outdoors, if I'm working around the house. I don't think I can go without giving a slot to a neck knife, but I don't want to give an entire one of my 5 knives to just a neck knife. So I want something like, meaning I don't want a primitive wicket, right? I think this is a great neck knife, but this is not a knife I want for my everyday because it's a Scandi. I don't really care for Scandi for everyday stuff. So while this one is a great neck knife, this would not be my choice. Now, we have something similar. It's not really similar in shape, but we have the mini Scandi knife from Tops, which is not a real Scandi. It's a fake Scandi. There's a secondary bevel down here. It also will work as a neck knife. It checks a lot of those boxes. It's not insanely expensive. I think you can get these for just under $100. It might be over 100 MSRP, but I think they're available. And because of the way that the Kydex is, you can have it as a neck knife or with a DCC clip. So I think that is what we're looking for, that little sweet spot that has a good Kydex sheath that can also have a clip, like a DCC or an Ulti clip, and a small fixed blade. We have our big fixed blade over here with the LT. So let's narrow down all of these that we could do as a neck knife and as a pocket carry. Everything but these. That leaves the Schwarz Knives Overland Sport, TPK Raptor. We have the LT Wright Knives Frontier First, and we have the Tops Knives Mini Scandi, which would be the newest of all of these and the one I've carried the least. But I do think it's really nice because this is definitely the most affordable of all of these, and it's not a true Scandi. It is a Mini Scandi 2.5, but as you can see here, there is a secondary bevel there, so it's not a true Scandi. Boy, that's tough. I really like the blade shape on these. I think it makes them very, very versatile. I don't even know.
I mean, I'm kind of Raptor or LT.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think I'm out on the Overland Sport. And the main thing there is, like, if I'm going to do one of the Overlands, I prefer the big Overland to the Sport. I just do. This one's good, but I don't like pancake sheaths. I just don't. I think they're a little bit annoying to me. I get having the versatility of being able to mount to either side, but I prefer a taco sheath to a pancake. Like, that's just nicer, right? A little smaller, a little more pocketable. If I'm putting it in the pocket, the smaller the sheath, the better. So we can eliminate that, and now we're down to 3. All 3 of these, taco sheaths. Comfortability, these 2 win, right? Those handles are more comfortable than the LT. But I just love that thing. The Python Micarta, it's not a full 4-finger knife. None of them are. They're 3-finger knives.
I'd go Raptor.
So the biggest drawback to the Raptor is the blade stock. It is, I believe, the thickest blade stock of all 3. It is a hollow grind, but it's a very shallow hollow grind, so it doesn't actually make it super slicey. This one also, with it having that faux Scandi, is not super slicey, but it's really tough. They're all 3 really tough, but that's a tough one, man. The thing about it, for me, is it's actually like the opposite of what I like, and we've talked about this in the past, what I like about the Lookout is it's big handle, small blade. I really like that big handle, small blade. This is small handle, big blade.
Yeah, that's why I'd be out on it.
Yeah.
The Raptor is more
like, I like being able to choke up and cut like this, and if I do that, my finger's on the blade.
Yeah.
Raptor, I can do that.
Yeah.
A little easier. This one, obviously, I use the shit out of this one. I love this knife, and I can do that easily. That's a tough one, man. I carry this one more than any other fixed blade, I'd say, is the Frontier First.
I mean, if we're going versatility, you neck knife the LT more than you would neck knife the Raptor.
Yes and no. I have neck knifed this one.
You have, but
I didn't take it backpacking. I didn't take it backpacking. This one, obviously, you can see I have it set up as the current neck knife. For now, I'm tentatively saying LT Frontier First because it is the neck knife I use the most. As you can tell by this leather is pretty nasty. And I have it set up to be a pocket carry too. So this one pulls double duty as the EDC fixed blade, and it is the one I carry the most as an EDC fixed blade. So this is the wild card category, I guess is what we're going to call it. Like, we've got classics, right? PM2. I don't carry a PM2 very often, but it's not because I don't like it, and it's a classic, and it is super slicey. That full flat, that really fine point, like, there's a lot to love about a PM2. I don't know why I don't carry one often, but I just don't.
Yeah.
So many other knives.
I never really bonded with my PM2.
Here's one that's no surprise to you. This is the Rogue Wave Midlock from Rhidian. I bought this in my Discord server years ago, and it is a truly phenomenal knife. This one could be in there. This one could be in there. I'd say we're like up between these. We have some fixed blades that I haven't talked about, like Bradford Guardian. That's a good one. And if I wanted a EDC, a bigger fixed blade, but it also can kind of pull double duty. This EDC knife from Reeve. This is the Circadian. It's new. Magna Cut. This is by far, without a doubt, the most comfortable fixed blade I've ever handled. The contouring on this is so subtle, but it is the most comfortable handle ever. It's so comfortable. Here's one I didn't even pull up here. Another UG Tools knife. This thing's cool as hell.
The little bastard.
Yeah, this is a collaboration with Little Bastard Knives, I guess is what it is.
I think so, right? I can't remember.
This thing is like, it weighs nothing. Here, I got a scale here. Let's see, because I'm curious. It weighs like nothing. It's 3D printed titanium with a MagnaCut blade. Pretty sure it's MagnaCut. It's not labeled. 1.3 ounces for a fixed blade.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly.
It's ridiculous. But we're back to like small handle, long blade. It's a little too steak knifey for me, I think. Look at that.
Yeah. I don't know. Choice is easy for me.
It is?
Right there. One of those two.
Wow. That's how, I mean, that's not a surprise for you to go more classy.
I don't like overlap. And I feel like the McNeese is overlap because you already have a Zahn.
With the Zahn?
Yeah.
You're not wrong, right? Like
the McNeese is like, feels classic. It's built to last. It's Jonathan. He makes damn good knives.
Yeah, this one is great.
So.
But you're saying it's too close to the Zahn.
Yeah. Like, we already have like a hardworking USA made kind of Rosie. I don't know, man. I didn't fall in love with my Rosie.
I really liked this. I almost made a video about this knife when I bought it, and I was going to title it "The Perfect EDC Knife."
Yeah.
There was a really intense honeymoon period with this knife.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think so.
And then I just stopped carrying it.
Yeah.
We have my darling.
Yeah.
The Wicket XL.
Wicket.
I think this is one of the best fixed blades on the market right now. I freaking love the Wicket XL. I just don't know that if I can only have 5, that this would make it. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to carry it in much of the same way I would have this, like kind of a truck knife. I do have this as a pocket sheath. I have a Kydex for this as well. It's too big to neck knife. I'm left without anything like classy or traditional.
Yeah.
So if we're talking overlap, the overlap with this, it's overlapping with all 3 of these, is I guess
I
what
would
I'm
say
getting
so.
at.
Yeah. My Ranger. A Ranger. My last one would be Ranger.
Where's the Ranger? Right here.
Ranger, Eros, Rhidian, or even the Mariner 2, but that's just because I have a deep love for that Mariner 2 now.
If I were to choose, I would go Eros over Mariner 2. The Mariner 2 is really nice.
Yeah.
But I like the Eros a little more for that. I'm really having a hard time not including this in my 5. And the reason for that is that this thing is like groundbreaking, right? It's innovative, it is cool as hell, and it just feels great, it looks great. I really don't want to not have this knife on there, but I do have another UG on here. But that's just how good they are. Like lightweight, tough as hell, like everything is right on these knives. I even have a sheep's foot one. So I've not actually carried the sheep's foot a whole lot, but this one's cool too. And it's got that thing I love, both of these do. That kind of forward little curve. When it comes to slip joints, I'm not the biggest slip joint guy.
That's fair.
This is actually, I would say, one of my favorite slip joints I've had, the Ranger. I think the Ranger is awesome.
It is fantastic.
They did a great job on this. Jared Oser did a phenomenal job designing it. But I think these 2 are more special. And just look at that.
Yeah.
Name another lockback knife that does this.
Yeah.
And is just so smooth. And it has that thumb stud. It's just, it's fidgety. This one's fidgety too. Dude, it's tough. This is tough. Can we do 6?
No.
If I can only have 6? I mean, I feel pretty good about...
That's not what GBK did, so no.
We've done a good job. Better than I thought it would be. Like, this was easier than I expected.
Yeah. You're kind of struggling with the fixed blades.
A little bit, but like, we got there. I knew when I walked in the door today that there would be like 4 or 5 that I'd be like, I really want one of these, and I don't want to choose. This isn't even like super gentlemanly, but...
No, but it's still, I mean, it's got traditional roots.
Put it in a little pocket slip like that, a clip slip.
Yeah, dude. It's a good choice.
That's the one. That knife has stuck with me. It's never even remotely been close to being on a chopping block.
Yeah.
Neither has the Aros. I've carried this one a lot this year.
Yeah.
Because it's just so good.
Just don't overthink your decision. You accepted it. That's it. All your knives burned down in a fire. It's over.
One more. One more. I thought
it's over. It's over. You picked the Rhidian.
What would you choose between these? I think we're...
So I've never carried the Rhidian at all. So I'd probably go Rhidian though. Like I love the arrows too, but the Rhidian is just like my vibe. Based on
To me, it's special, right?
Yeah.
There's a story behind it, the way I got it. Rhidian does not make this way anymore. And I actually had to send it with him to get it repaired because a friend of mine, Joe, from Rustic Heirloom, I was showing him. He's like, what is one of your favorite knives? And I showed him.
And he dropped it.
And he dropped it tip down on concrete and bent the tip. And Rhidian fixed it for the price of shipping. Like, what a guy.
Yeah.
All right, we're doing it. We're going. This is it. This is it.
All right, well, we got to reset anyways.
All right, here we are. If I could only have 5 knives from my collection, this would be it. And looking at them here in front of me now, I think I'd be totally happy. Obviously, I have an aesthetic. I think that's pretty clear. Brown, black, green, just earth tones through and through. I would be very sad if I had to get rid of any of these other knives that we had just off camera. And what Mickey said when they were wrapping up, he said that if you asked him on a different day, it would probably be a different selection of knives. And I feel that's true. Like tomorrow, I might have picked the Eros instead of the Rhidian, but something about it today, the Rhidian, I let Ricky talk me into it. I don't know, it makes me think of my grandpa, right? And that's really what I think why I've hung on to this knife so long, and I've carried it a bunch. Even when I met Rhidian at Blade Show this year, I showed this to him. He told me to bring it so he could take it back and repair it because he's in Canada. And I showed it to him and he was like, wow, you have actually used this knife a lot. And I bought it from Sky, who works for Grimsmo. He's a mod in my Discord server. He had this for sale. I bought it from him and it was mint when I bought it. It had barely been used. I think he bought 2 Rhidian knives at the same time, said, I don't like this one, I'm keeping the other one. And it was practically new when I bought it, and it's very well worn and well loved now. And he did touch it up, he cleaned it up a little bit, but yeah, he was impressed by how much I had used it and how much wear it had on it. Yeah, though, when it comes down to it, I've carried the Umnumzaan. There was actually a point in time, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that I went almost 6 months straight with only carrying the Umnumzaan. I believe it was Vivi. I was on a call with them and they said, you know, what do you think of the knives we sent you? And I was like, I'm going to be completely honest. I've not carried anything but an Umnumzaan for months. And they were like, wow, we don't like to hear that, but okay, we get it. But like, that was just where I was at that time. And I think because of that, I've really grown to love it more than I did before. But it's, you know, getting a green one at Blade Show, like,
Sealed
polished blade, green handle, like this has been, I've actually had this in the pocket for the last week or so, before Ricky started talking about McNeese, and I felt like I had to grab my PM Mac too. I carried this one obviously for 2 weeks straight as my EDC knife. It stays in the truck. I've used it camping. I've batoned wood. I would do so much with this and not even bat an eye. It's A2 tool steel, and it is a beast, a tank. It's comfy. And it carries better than it looks. And I mean that because it's like, it's a chunk of steel. It's like a pound, but it feels really balanced in the hand and it's super comfy. I'd be totally happy with this if this was my only camp knife. No questions about it. And I feel the exact same way about this. If this is the only kitchen knife I had, I would be so happy. In fact, I want more of this knife because it's so good. We just looked it up and I totally forgot what it is. Svartisen? Svartisen. This is the Svartisen from UG Tools. It was a prototype when I first got it. I've used the ever-living crap out of it in my kitchen. It is just super comfy. It's extremely slicey. Best kitchen knife I've ever had, bar none. And then we come to this little guy. I don't think that this is the best small fixed blade, but I think it checks all the right boxes for me. This is the knife that I carry when I'm backpacking. This is the knife that I carry around my house when I'm doing yard work. This is the knife that I have on me most days when it comes to like how often I carry a fixed blade. I mostly grab this one because I just like the sheath. I like it, the way it snaps in. The retention's perfect. It works just as well as a neck knife. What would your 5 knives be if you could only have 5? From the mindset of for the rest of your life, what would those 5 be? It's harder than you think. I almost cried today.
I could see it in your eyes, man.
Yeah, it hurts just seeing all these over here. Ones that just didn't make the cut. But that's it. Those are my 5. And if you're out there and you're watching this and you've got your own channel, take the challenge. Give DBK some credit, but what are your 5? I want to see them. All right, that's it. See you guys later. Everything we talked about, including all the ones that we just tossed aside, we're linking them below. Ricky's going to do it. But
oh,
it's okay.
yeah, buddy.
They'll all be there.
Yeah.
They're not actually, but all right. See you guys.